Heather Marie Catterton was pretty, 17 years old and unfortunately, a very troubled young woman. She had a tumultuous relationship with her father Nick and often ran away for days at a time to escape household tension. This time, however, Catterton would run into a fateful end, one that, in spite of having street smarts, the unhappy young girl could never have predicted or prevented. York County, South Carolina, October 29, 2009. Police attended a country, gravel and dirt road to investigate the finding of a young woman's corpse. She had been dumped on an obscure lonely road where few people would notice her. There was a striped sock on her toe and her naked calf protruded from a brush. The body was white with blue veins visible beneath the skin. She had a long, deep gash in her side from a claw, perhaps. There were more scratches along her body. Perhaps the body had been dragged. She was naked from the waist down, and except for a hoodie that was pulled up to expose her breasts, and the socks, that was all she wore. Several meters down the road from the body was her diamond-studded blue jeans. Stuffed inside the jeans was a red bra and a pair of black underwear. After fingerprinting the body, police determined her identity. Catterton had been charged with possession of cocaine and marijuana with intent to distribute. The charges were pending and Catterton didn't have a criminal record. Catterton had lived in Gastonia, North Carolina. Catterton wasn't enrolled in school. Frequently stayed with friends for weeks at a time. She had been in and out of the foster system for 5 years. Family response. It's interesting that most families of murdered people claim that their family member was untroubled and led a wonderful life. Nick Catterton said he was encouraging Catterton to study for a GED. Catterton had several drug arrests in Gaston County to which Nick Catterton attributed. The company his daughter kept. She's always been a good girl. She just got those teenage genes in her. Teenagers nowadays think they can do anything and they're all grown up. I've never heard of teenage genes in my life, but apparently that explanation made sense to Nick. Catterton often lived on the run, staying at home sometimes, with friends sometimes, and at other times no one knew where she was. She wouldn't even tell me who she was with because she knew I would come right then and get her, Nick Catterton said. A father and mother can tell about their kids more than anyone in the world. Parents know the signs. A lot of time they don't believe the signs, but the signs are there. He insisted that his daughter was self-aware and strong, and she would have tried to fight off her attacker and escape. She was a very smart girl, she was street smart. That's what made me think that couldn't be her, because at the first sign of trouble, as soon as the opportunity hit, she would have run like a rabbit. She would have done something. Nick may have been right about seeing the signs in his daughter's behavior, but this didn't help him to get his child under control. He was an inadequate parent in need of counseling to establish realistic guidelines for Catterton. Nick Catterton stated he would have sacrificed his own life to protect her, something I highly doubt. I would definitely trade places with her. Anybody would for their kid that they love. It just breaks our hearts. Whoever did this couldn't have been in their right state of mind. They had to be some kind of monster, maniac. He made a strange appeal to the public, please come forward and give peace of mind to everyone who loves her. Whoever it is, they're going to catch you anyway. The Department of Social Services took over custody of Catterton when she was 15. They would say activity has gone on, Nick Catterton explained. One night at their previous home in Grover, a shot was fired and Catterton was placed in DSS care over child endangerment concerns. Social Services finally released her from its custody when she was 16 because they couldn't control her from running away from these homes, Nick Catterton said. He called his daughter a daddy's girl. She got into trouble because of her free-spirited nature. Apparently Nick's definition of free equals spirited included drug possession and sales and being in the custody of social services. Her brother, Barry Holland, stated she was a joyful person, high-spirited. Got along with everyone, and everyone liked her. She always had a smile on her face. If Catterton's father and brother were speaking truthfully about her, then her history of running away and dealing drugs was extremely contradictory. Clearly, the family was unaware of the significant contradiction in what they told the media and what actually happened in Catterton's life. National Runaway Switchboard. According to the National Runaway Switchboard, between 1.6 million and 2.8 million youths run away from home each year. Maureen Blaha, a national children's expert of the switchboard, stated, "It's alarming. It's a silent crisis in this country. The public needs to realize we have a serious problem in this country that needs their attention." The hotline received more than 100,000 calls each year, with 50% of the calls from youth who had left their homes, and the other half from parents looking for support. Not surprisingly, family dynamic issues were the number one reason youth called the switchboard. Those problems ranged from inability to cope with current family struggles, wanting to flee the situation making them feel upset, inability to fit into a new family structure. They don't know how to cope and may flee, Blaha said. Catterton was reported missing at least 5 times in 1 year. Oftentimes, officials found her in Gaston County, not too far from her biological family's home. She wanted to be accepted and to adjust to her family's circumstances, but Catterton was unable and she paid with her life. Blaha is correct in stating that runaways lead difficult lives and are ill-equipped to cope with their personal problems. However, her statement that the public needs to realize we have a serious problem in this country that needs their attention doesn't carry any merit. What will the public do with this information? What does the public do when it discovers that yet another child who has been placed in Child Protective Services and died at the hands of perverse foster parents? Nothing. We're outraged and talk about the headlines for a while, and then the stories slip to the back page of a newspaper until they disappear and we forget about them. It isn't right, but it's a fact. The killer. Police didn't take long to determine the killer's identity. In a bizarre twist of fate, a man named Danny Robbie Hembry Jr., 47, who was dating Catterton's sister, Nicole Catterton, at the time of the murder. There was no explanation offered as to why Hembry killed Heather Catterton. They had a mutual sexual encounter, possibly fueled by drugs. Perhaps Catterton threatened to tell her sister for some reason, so Hembry killed her. However, Hembry also RPD and brutally killed Catterton, so this motive isn't entirely rational. At any rate, Hembry was eventually charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder around the time that he murdered Catterton. After the Catterton murder, Hembry was also charged in the 1992 murder of Deborah Ratchford, 30, whose body was found in the woods near Oakland Street Cemetery, according to police. He was also accused in the November 11 death of Randy Dean Saldana, 29, one of Heather's friends. Police linked him to Saldana's sexual assault and murder since she and Catterton had been good friends. Why he killed Saldana, only Hembry knows. Crystal Wiley, a decade-long friend of Catterton, said she first met the man accused of killing Heather at the teen's funeral. "I went to the funeral. He was there." Wiley said she was in shock when she found out Hembry was arrested and couldn't believe someone now accused of killing her could attend Catterton's funeral. Nicole left the gravesite with Danny. "It's shocking. Everybody walked up. I don't recall him walking up there. He should have been locked up and held without bail." The trial. According to an affidavit in Hembry's court file, police said that on December 5, 2009, Hembry confessed to killing Catterton and Saldana in his mother's house at 2304 Oakstone Drive, Gastonia. The affidavit says the 2 bodies were stored in a closet in the house's basement and later dumped in York County. Gaston County District Attorney Locke Bell took less than 10 minutes to tell the jury about the day Catterton was killed. Hembry admitted to smoking crack and having intercourse with Catterton before she died, but denied that he killed her. The state argued that Hembry came up from behind the teen, placed his hand over her nose and mouth, and suffocated her. Suffocation can take up to 90 seconds to kill someone. It's a torturous death. Hembry, on the other hand, stated he used a cord to strangle the teen. "And then I released the cord because I didn't want to bruise her up or hurt her, I just wanted he to go quick." Such a humanitarian. He also showed detectives Saldana's boots that he'd kept in his mother's basement. "I left her in here. Randy stayed 2 or 3 days here." Much of this information was stated in front of the jury in court. Hembry stated he hadn't meant to kill Saldana but had choked her in a moment of passion. He told the jury, "I was pissed off at Randy for dying." Intelligent comment to make during a murder trial. Of course, he also hadn't meant to kill Catterton. He insisted he found her dead in his bed the morning after they had consensual intercourse and smoked crack together. The jury didn't buy it. Hembry was found guilty of first-degree murder in Catterton's death and sentenced to death row. He pled guilty to Saldana's murder. Lest you think that's the end of the story, Hembry, who clearly had little self-control, wrote a letter to his hometown newspaper, stating, "Kill me if you can, suckers." By the age of 53, North Carolina's highest court ordered Hembry a new trial. The court agreed that he was denied a fair trial because of several errors, including the presentation of evidence from Saldana's killing. He received the death sentence for this killing, but if he is lucky enough, he may be able to extend his life on death row with continued appeals and trials, a la Rodney Alcala, the dating game killer, who has been convicted of several rape murders but 29 years later, is still alive due to appeals and new trials. Hembry further taunted the public in his letter by stating, "Is the public aware that I am a gentleman of leisure, watching color TV in the AC, reading, taking naps at will, eating 3 well-balanced hot meals a day? I'm housed in a building that connects to the new $55 million hospital with round-the-clock free medical care 24/7. I'm sure he is also corresponding with women who, for their own twisted reasons, become infatuated with prison inmates. It wouldn't surprise me if he received a marriage proposal."